I had spent my teenage years in particular, but probably even before that, as a kid in Melbourne, who was in a football family. Like, you just grow up wanting to be a football player, and maybe mid-teens, that became something I'm like, oh, I can actually do that. And then it became my entire identity. And I happened to end up being drafted to the team that I rooted for. And so I was just like, all my life had just worked out like a fairy tale. And then it didn't. I had a surgery every year for about 6 or 7 years, and no playing time. And so as that happened, I legitimately, looking back now, I'd probably describe it potentially as a breakdown. At the very least, I was not handling things well at all. And so how I felt at the time was, it's over, and I'm a loser. I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. I'm an embarrassment to people, embarrassment to myself. And I was grasping at trying to hang on to that, like, still make it happen, even though the odds were getting slimmer and slimmer. I could have been redrafted, and a couple of things almost went that way. But I spent so much time trying to resurrect that dead dream, and I couldn't let it go. So I was a mess at that point. I remember the New Year's Eve at the end of that year, after I'd been cut, there were probably 2 instances where I remember bawling my eyes out in public because I'd just lost control of myself. One being the day after 9/11, because that night, the day before, was the day I got told I wasn't going to be in the final squad. And so I was hurt. I went out, got drunk, saw the towers getting hit at a nightclub in Melbourne while I was still very drunk. And I was kind of like, oh, whatever. And then I went to work the next day, and I was like, oh, that's, puts things into perspective. But the night before, I was a mess. And then somewhere in there, my father's sister, my godmother, who I grew up around the corner from, we spent a lot of time with them growing up, took her own life. And it was, I obviously felt horrible about it, and I felt very, very horrible for my dad. But I also was like, no, I got to battle on. I got to keep going. Like, got to handle this. And so I never really processed that loss for a little while. And I think all of that combined, because I went through some tough stuff that I didn't know how to handle, and I wasn't a good communicator. I didn't really have the skills or had been taught how to process that stuff. Plus my auntie taking her own life led me to get involved in mental health work, which led me into psychology, which I'd already kind of dabbled in from a performance point of view, because I found it, A, I needed it, and B, it helped me. And so that kind of set the stage for eventually I would make my way back around to being an AFL development coach. Mm-hmm. And in that position, I was like, I got to get my head around psychology. I got to get better at that. So I came here to study it. And then that's when the crazy shit started to happen.